This is absolutely unprecedented for the Carolina Hurricanes, as not only are they the hottest team in the NHL, including getting some scoring from an unlikely source, there's a huge update on Alexander Nikishin as he has made history in the KHL, and he's looking like a lock to come in and change everything for this Hurricanes roster, a roster that has been better than anyone could have possibly anticipated after the chaos of the trade deadline. We got to dive into all that and much more on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. Just a quick reminder, too, to hit the subscribe button down below. We got NHL news on your favorite teams every single day. We're not going to dilly-dally. We're going to get straight into it, Mark. And we got to start. Let's just start with Nikishin. This guy has been unbelievable. Look, we already know Alexander Nikishin, the captain of SKA St. Petersburg over in Russia, but it doesn't end there. He has had an incredible run of performance right now. And from Kane's Prospect on Twitter, fantastic follow as well. Nikishin is now the only defenseman in KHL history with 3 straight 40-point seasons. 55 points in 22-23, 23-24, 56, 24-25, 40 points from ages 21 to 23. Alexander Nikishin, the captain, he's the second leading scorer on the team. He has 17 goals, 46 points this season. He looks like straight up one of the best prospects in the world. Like bar none, right? Like not even just recent ones. I know we got Taka Demidov and we got people coming up in this draft. And even Demidov, his teammate, of course, is the big comparable to him. But Mark, like you could even argue Nikishin is more NHL ready right now. He's 22 years old. He's a captain. He's almost leading his team in scoring as a 22-year-old defenseman, 6'4", 216. This is just one of these prospects that I think is going to shock the people that don't know him the second he steps on North American ice.
And I mean, the biggest thing is looking at the scoring alone. Listen, this is a big defenseman, 6'4". He throws hits. He's physically a specimen, but he's also out there going to set a career high in goals. He has 17 right now, 46 points. And as we said, setting a record of being the only guy in the KHL with 3 straight 40-point seasons. He has star potential written all over him, and I think he's going to join this team a lot sooner than we expect. I mean, we've seen from the general manager himself just a few months ago, saying he's under contract with the KHL club this year, but he will end up signing with this team once the season ends. This is a player to be super ecstatic for if you're a Canes fan. And just looking at stats again, I can't get over how good this kid is for only 22 years old, playing in a professional league like the KHL.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. And again, look, there's always going to be questions. When come playoff time for the Hurricanes, is he going to be able to play? Almost certainly not. Like that's kind of how it works. These KHL contracts now run until like May, June. Like you're not going to be able to have them over. I know again there's similar stuff happening with Demidov, but look, this SKA team is as much as they're usually one of the top teams in the KHL. They're not right at the top this year, though they've been quite good, getting some good scoring. Even another guy like Gritsyuk, NHL prospect, the veteran in Kuznetsov, and great scoring from the younger guys. Up front in Nikishin and Demidov, Mark. And I mean, if we look at right now Carolina's decor, like there's a world that Nikishin can fit in. I think it's more than a world. This guy already looks like he's going to be an unbelievable defenseman, but like he has a perfect opportunity here. I mean, we talk about a guy like Orlov that's probably going to be gone. You move Walker back to the right side. There's a spot for the taking for Alexander Nikishin. And again, with Brent Burns declining a little bit year over year, look, I still like Chatfield. I still like Walker. Gosse has been pretty solid too. Slavin is obviously unbelievable, but there's a place for Nikishin here. And I think right away from day one, it wouldn't shock me to see this guy nearing 20 minutes a night for the Hurricanes. He's that good already in a professional league at this age. It's insane.
It would not shock me if he jumped straight into the top 4 going into next season. The biggest thing is, yes, he does need to work on a bit of his game when he gets to North America. It's going to be a big change going from the KHL to the top league in the world when it comes to hockey. So it's going to be quite interesting. But like you said, there's a lot of guys on the back end currently in Brent Burns and Orlov that are free agents at the end of the season. So if they do let both of these guys go, I think Burns might come back on a cheaper contract. Orlov can walk to a new team, but this saves them so much more money bringing in a rookie contract to this roster that can immediately make an impact. Josh, listen, we always talk about how deep the Carolina defense is. I think adding this young 22-year-old to this team that has an incredible shot. I mean, we've seen him score 17 plus goals, and if he continues scoring this season to the back end, I think it's going to unlock a lot for this Carolina team next year.
It unlocks a ton of potential that, look, we haven't really seen from that defense. Well, I guess we kind of have seen from the defensive end. There's honestly been some pretty good play from there, but like, it unlocks a whole nother element to this team's game, right? And I think you made a great point too, and that transitions well. Like we're talking about the money. We talk about we're talking about the money. What was that? We're talking about the money, and a guy like Nikishin coming in on that like sub $1 million deal. You look at the decor now, again, like you said, you're knocking off like whatever, the 14 million bucks there in Burns and Orlov. But you look at the forwards as well. And there were some money things going on with that whole Rantanen situation, but there's a few guys on some interesting contracts and some bigger ones up front. And again, Aho, and again, you're going to have to pay Stankoven in the future. Jackson Blake is playing up in the lineup. You still have Svechnikov there, who's not playing right now, but you have a lot of guys who are going to make a decent amount of money. And to have that flexibility of Nikishin coming in, giving you hopefully the level of production of the couple of guys that are going out while leaving some flexibility for your forward core moving forward is really the best thing you can ask for. And Mark, again, speaking of that forward core, not only are we talking about money right now, we're talking about production, bang for your buck, because we're going to transition fully into this insane winning streak that Carolina's on. The hottest team in the NHL, bar none. Depending when you're watching this, who knows when you're watching this? This is getting recorded March, well, I guess, around midnight Eastern here on March 17th, 18th. So take that for what you will. But right now, Carolina is dominant. 7 in a row as of the recording of this. And it's been crazy to witness this because after that trade deadline, the whole Mikko Rantanen thing going down, right? There has been a lot of question marks surrounding the Carolina Hurricanes organization. But Mark, the team has persevered through all of this. And I know there's a certain name we're going to talk about who's been playing well in just a bit, but how shocked have you been to watch the Carolina Hurricanes come out of this trade deadline with this level of intensity and this level of play?
I mean, first looking at the Mikko Rantanen situation, everyone thought Carolina kind of got the bad end of the stick when it came to it, but they did fill out their roster a little bit. They added draft capital to this team. Their future looks even brighter while being a contender. I mean, looking at their current win streak in the last 10, there's so many guys producing at nearly a point per game. And the biggest thing is there's a lot of players that are going at a bigger rate than we expected to help with this roster. I mean, listen, Josh, losing Rantanen does suck, but you do add so much to this roster. And I don't know if it's crazy to say, but I almost prefer what they have at the current moment than what they have with just Rantanen on the roster. I mean, looking at the roster itself, like I said, we do have extra first-round picks to this roster, but adding young pieces for the future in Stankoven alone does make this so much better for the future. And right now, Josh, listen, I know losing Rantanen does suck. I know the depth looks a lot better, but is there anyone else on this roster that maybe is standing out a little more than you were expecting so far this season?
I mean, like, look, there's a few names I could pick. Throughout the year, we've done a few videos on this team, but I mean, since the deadline, I mean, there's been really no one that stood out more than a guy like Jankowski. Like, in a trade that was kind of like just almost a throw in on trade deadline day. You didn't really think much of it. The production from Jankowski has been insane. 2 goals against Philadelphia, 2 goals in his debut for Carolina versus Winnipeg. That's 4 goals in 4 games and 4 wins for Mark Jankowski. 4 shots, add another 4 to it. 4 face-off wins in 2 of the games. You add the other 2 games, and it's 4 again. There's just 4s and even numbers everywhere for Jankowski. But being serious, 4 goals in 4 games is nuts. And again, that's just not what you expect from a guy like Jankowski. You expect him to come in, be a 4th line, maybe a little more of a grindy type player. He fills his role down there on the 4th line wearing his number 77, and you're happy with it. But he's been giving more production than we could have ever expected, right? And to see this as well, like, not just him. Again, you showed the stats. There's a lot of other guys playing well over the team's last 10 games. As you can see here, feel free to pause and take a deeper look because, except for Mikko Rantanen, we can just throw him off the edge of the earth. That's fine. But right now with the Carolina Hurricanes, like, I don't know. This team right now, the way they're rolling, you have to imagine that it doesn't only feel good for the coaches, the management, the fans, but it gives such a morale boost to the players to know, like, yeah, it sucks we lost a brother in Natchez, but he probably wasn't going to stay long term. Rantanen didn't want to be here. Look at the return we got. Look where we are now. Honestly, I don't think you could have scripted a better outcome post-trade deadline for the Hurricanes.
And that's the big thing. Listen, getting Rantanen was a risk on its own. We've seen so many rumors going around that maybe he didn't even want to be with this team when they did acquire him. But I think the management did an incredible job getting off their heels and just getting what they could. I know it pretty much went up to the last minute of the trade deadline. It really felt like, at least. So they didn't get a big deal of going out and acquiring more players. But maybe that's for the best. Like you said, and like I've said myself, this is a roster that can very well compete and make it to the Stanley Cup Finals here. You have extra draft capital and young guys if you want to flip in the offseason. I don't know, Josh. It's one of those things. This is a contending team that also has the assets to maybe go out and get a bigger fish than Mikko Rantanen. I know that's very tough to say in this offseason to help with the future seasons to come as well.
I mean, look, it's a big facelift. It's a crazy transformation. What looked to be a horrendous situation is turned around in the best way possible. And honestly, I'm just along for the ride. Like, this is a cause chaos. It's a chaotic team. And it wouldn't be a hurricane season without something crazy happening at the deadline and after. And who knows how far they'll go this year? Maybe a Cinderella run's in order, if you can even call it that for a team that's been so dominant lately. Or maybe there's some big changes coming this offseason. All we know is it's going to be an exciting watch, especially with Nikishin coming over next year. But let us know what you think down in the comments down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching every single day. I'm Josh Goss, my co-host Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.